Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Robbie. Bobby, what's up, dude?
Not much, besides I was lagging pretty good through that intro, so hopefully that does not continue. But same old Mario. How about you?
Same, dude. But I'm over here exploring a ton, like on Twitter. I'm checking all of the apps, looking for Cordarrelle Patterson news because that is clearly from the Wednesday show, my play this week.
Yes.
And you got me nervous. You said he did not practice today, and I see nothing of it. You sure it wasn't another Patterson?
No.
You positive?
Yeah. But like I said, late in the season like this, a lot of, especially veterans, they don't practice, and they'll just throw them on the injury report. So I would not worry too much about it, especially if there's no other noise.
The only noise I'm hearing is you, Robbie.
Chirp, chirp, baby.
We got a good show today. I don't think we want to dance around it. It is Friday. We got some games tomorrow, which will be nice. We got some games on Sunday. It doesn't make it easy for fantasy. We got games on Monday. Definitely doesn't.
Doesn't make it easy for DFS either.
Doesn't make it. I argue that it makes it easier for DFS than your poor lineups, because the decisions that you have to make sometimes, I would start Ramondre over Kenneth Walker against San Francisco all day if I knew he was good. He finally got back to practice this week. He may play, but I'm not going to have a spot for him.
Yep.
There's certain decisions that you have to make on Thursday. Now it's Saturday. And
yeah, it was tough. For sure, Ken Walker, I would have stayed far away. I stayed far away from every Seattle player. You played him?
It wasn't. Yeah, it was.
Why didn't you call me?
Could have been. It could have been worse, right?
Who was it between?
It's rough. It's rough, dude. I'll give you multiple situations because obviously I have them everywhere. So Kenneth Walker, I am flexing a wide receiver already, so we would have to alternate out for Jeff Wilson. Definitely not doing that, or Pierre Strong. Couldn't do that.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Another league we had, and this is the one that this could be the goof. He got 9.9 in this. This is half point. Ramondre's on our bench right now. Rashad White's on our bench, and James Cook is on our bench. I didn't trust Ramondre.
Yeah. Rashad White's an interesting one. I mean, I don't like the matchup for sure. But I hated the matchup for Ken Walker.
Yeah. I honestly, though, dude, when starting him, I was not expecting to get 10 points.
I wouldn't.
That's how down bad I felt. I was not expecting to get 10. He got 10. I am very content with that, especially the league that I have him with George Kittle. That was, I mean, it couldn't have worked out better if you started George Kittle and Kenneth Walker, let me tell you. So yeah, we're going through the same decisions. We have the same issues right now. It's tough. It is tough. And let's go to that game. Like the 49ers versus Seattle. 49ers won 21-13. The score seems way closer than it actually was, although it did get interesting at the end. I can't I can't say it didn't. If Seattle had a stop on that third down, it gets crazy. Rob, fun note. You ready for this?
Sure.
I did a showdown last night.
How'd it go?
It went well. But let me tell you who one of my players was. Jordan Mason.
Really?
Really.
Good call.
And I think the leading score divided by multiple people because it's the $1 million. I think it's the $1 million one. I would say there was over 10 people tied for first at like 118.3.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Mason, you saw that run at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I would say it would add 6.1 if he scores there, right? One more yard.
Yeah.
I finished at 111.9. So thankfully, if it would have gave me first, dude, I would be down bad, real freaking bad right now. Like if it would have been, I don't know, 118.5, but it would put me almost exactly at 118. So I still would be behind all of those guys that tied for 118. No, they didn't have Seattle's defense. It was, if anything, it was San Fran's defense.
Yeah.
Almost,
dude.
I was
a good
close.
day. Good day.
It was a good day. CMC was captain. Kittle was on there. Noah Fant was in there. Jason Myers, great one, was in there. It was a good day. I can't remember the last player. There's one more.
Get you over here making money.
It felt good. Now it's just going to go wasted back into this week's DFS. All right, anyways. So 49er CMC and Kittle, monster days. Purdy looked good. Looked good.
Confident. He looks confident. He looks cool, calm, collected. It's not, the moment's not too big for him, which is what you want to see. He's not throwing interceptions. And under a Shanahan offense, if he can just find the right player to throw it to, it's money in the bank.
So a non-fantasy related question. Can Purdy win this team a Super Bowl? That's everyone's question right now.
Man, I would say no. You kind of saw it at the end of the game there, to be honest, like that second half.
Okay.
He kind of shelled up. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl unless you have a quarterback willing to take some risks and throw the ball downfield, kind of throw it into tight coverages. And his receivers didn't help him, so I can't fault him. Like Ayuk was nothing. He didn't do anything. He had actually had a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. A perfect ball, which would have got them a first down.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't fault him. I just don't know if he has they're going to have to put up points in one game. You know what I mean? In the playoffs, like they're going to have to get 30, 35 plus in a game. It's going to happen. I know how good the defense is. If anyone can win them the Super Bowl, it's the defense.
Yeah. So I think take that into complete consideration, right? Like, can they win it with Purdy?
I guess, but the only way that happens is if the defense just holds everyone under 20 points. You know what I mean?
The defense can very well hold the whole NFC to under 20. I actually believe that. Even Dallas.
But can he hold Buffalo? Can he hold Can they hold the Kansas City Chiefs? Can they, those kind of teams that consistently put up 35 points? We'll see. They got to get through the NFC, which they've shown that they can do.
Do you have,
man? As long as he's not throwing picks too. I mean, what did you say?
I said, do you have Ayuk concerns?
Too early to tell. I think I don't think so. I think he's better with Debo in. They can't. The defenses can't really hyper focus on him on the outside. So when Debo's back, I don't have concerns. But right now, with Debo out, I kind of do.
One last question. With Debo out, after seeing this Kittle game, obviously we saw the CMC one. That was to be expected. Everyone kind of expected that. After watching this Kittle game, is this going to be a nice stretch for the playoffs?
I don't
for your
know.
fantasy playoffs?
I don't know. I'm going to eat crow on that because I was knocking him last episode. He had a great game.
You and Norton were out.
I was out. They definitely made a point to get him the ball. So you were 100% right with that. I have to see it again, and then I'm sold. But If you have them, you're playing them, right? If you have them, you're
Yeah.
playing them, and you're hoping for the same thing. But with the tight end landscape this season, like if you have Kittle, I think his floor is where most people's kind of middle of the road games are. So I think you're fine.
They see Washington and Vegas to finish out the.
Vegas, you should eat.
Yeah, I should. I'm actually looking up Washington's right now. Washington's been the best against tight end on ESPN, so maybe not a great matchup next week. Seattle, Lockett broke his finger.
He had surgery today.
Did he?
Yes.
Did they say only out 2 to 3 weeks though? Right?
Fingers kind of are a quick one. I could look it up.
Does this help DK for your fantasy playoffs? I mean, like, is this going to be better for him or worse? We always have this conversation because we always have this conversation because there are some players that you want to be hyper targeted and everything. And DK to me is kind of one of those players. You got Kansas City and then the Jets. So, I mean, you're happy about the Kansas City matchup no matter what, and you're not happy about the Jets matchup no matter what. It's really how I think it plays out.
100%. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The matchups are so outside.
They're one way or the other right there.
Yeah.
Like you love them playing Kansas City, and then you really hate them playing the Jets. We will get a good test of the Jets this week, though, Rob. We get to we see a very hot Detroit offense going against them. I'm excited that will tell you what you need to know.
Yes, I'm bummed that Mike White's out. To be honest,
I meant their defense.
I know, 100%. I get what you're saying. But with Mike White out and how good-ish that the defense has been playing for Detroit, I can really see this turn into like a grinded out, like 20-17, 20-14 kind of game. A lot of Jamal Williams, like that kind of
cold.
Game.
It's cold. It's gonna be high 20s, low 30s there.
Yeah, I'm expecting a super low scoring game.
It's gonna be interesting. I really want Detroit to win. Actually, I kind of really like both of these teams. I hate this matchup because
I like both teams too.
It's good if the Jets win for our home, for the Browns, but
if they don't Zach Wilson coming in, I just don't see.
I don't want him to do well.
No, I don't care. Terrible. I could care less, but I just don't see a path for that offense to put up a ton of points.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it killed the DFS plays. I had Garrett Wilson in one. I had Elijah Moore in another one, and it's
You're all in on Elijah.
I thought that was going to be the best play of the week.
Yeah, it could have been a great play.
I can't do it now.
Not anymore.
Not a chance. Nope. All right, so let's talk about our best play. So, QBs. I love the first two guys that you have here. I mean, you saw me inputting my DFS lineups already. Sneak peek. These first two are my favorites. So talk about your first one.
Justin Herbert versus Tennessee. We talk about it ad nauseum at this point on these podcasts with how bad Tennessee's secondary is. Their rush defense is so good that other teams just don't even run, right? They just throw the ball 40. You did your little write-up. Your teams are averaging 40 pass attempts against and 2.3 touchdowns. That's both. I think it's both are the highest over the 3-week span. I have to pull it up. The Chargers are finally healthy. They have all their weapons there. They're going to throw the ball, I think, over 40 times a game. I think Herbert's in for a big day.
The only thing that concerns me, and Tennessee doesn't really let this happen too often, is that it gets out of hand. Tennessee doesn't let that happen. They are on a 3-game losing streak, but like the way the Chargers looked last week and the way the Tennessee Titans looked last week, that if they both play exactly how they did last week, this game gets out of hand.
Yeah, it could be one of those, like you get 30 points in the first half and 5 in the second, but I'll still take the 35.
Yeah, so you were spot on. Quarterbacks are averaging 40 attempts against this Titans defense on the last 3 weeks, averaging 343 yards, averaging 2.3 touchdowns. they're giving them anything they want. I mean, you could look at the wide receiver averages as well, which we'll get into, but they're third highest. So like it's been terrible against the pass.
Terrible against the tight end. I mean, they're just not good.
Yeah, it really isn't. Go to your next QB, and I'll follow up after you go through this one.
You Dak Prescott. I had Russ in here going up against who were they up against? Arizona, who's probably equally as bad as the Tennessee Titans secondary. But Russ is out this week. Dak against the Jags, I think, is such a juicy matchup. The Jags defense has been all bad all season, right? The secondary gets exposed every game. This Cowboys offense wants to throw the ball a ton. They're going to utilize Tony Pollard, in my opinion. I think he's going to be out there a ton. I'm looking for this to be a really high-scoring game. I think the Jags can hold their own even against a good defense like Dallas. So I think it'll be kind of a back-and-forth battle. Look for Dak to have a big day, throw a ton of balls, and hopefully get in the end zone a few times.
Yeah, I really should just get this pulled up in the Excel format so I can top 10. Jacksonville is top 10 juiciest matchups for quarterback right now. If I can't tell by the scroll, but it looks like 9. So I love this. Dak is not that chalky of a play. If you're looking at this in a DFS standpoint, I think that's where it becomes beneficial. A lot of people are looking at the one that you first mentioned, Justin Herbert, but Dak going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are also playing offensively really strong. I know that Detroit kind of shut them down, but this game could get crazy. Dallas's defense. Let me just roll into my play. I have Trevor Lawrence versus Dallas. Dallas's defense, obviously a tough one, but like you said, we're kind of anticipating a high scoring game here. That defense has a lot of injuries. Even when we look at the last 3 games, this is a defense that allows big plays, right? They take that gamble. They take the let's play
100%.
back on a receiver. So even in the last 3 weeks, they're allowing on average 224 yards to the quarterback, 1.3 touchdowns, much less than Tennessee. I get it. But these quarterbacks, Davis Mills, Matt Ryan, Danny Dimes, you are averaging 224 and 1.3 to those 3 guys. Meanwhile, Trevor Lawrence is out there balling. I love Trevor Lawrence this week. I think he's a great play. I brought him in here. I think we have so far, I think Dak and Trevor Lawrence are both like guys that people are probably starting. Obviously, Justin Herbert as well. But I think people see Dallas's defense and they get nervous about T-Law, especially because usually the T-Law owner has another QB. I'm saying plug him in, play him.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Again, this reminds me of that Minnesota game from last week, Minnesota-Detroit, where we both like, it's just going to be a high-scoring game. And in high-scoring games,
because it didn't hit our guys. I mean, you had Thielen out there, but it didn't like
DJ Chark. I mean,
DJ Chark was a good one that we loved.
There were a lot of guys that still put up. I
like
this play a lot. I like this play a lot. It kind of goes into, I don't have him on this list, but I've talked about him a lot. Evan Ingram, I think he's a great play this week.
He's I know I say this all the time on the episodes. He's one of those guys, Evan Ingram, I'm like nervous about for DFS reasons because like you just came off that monster game. Yes. What are the chances this happens again? It's like the odds thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead with your last QB of the week.
Derek Carr against the Patriots. The Patriots have been rough lately against the pass. Their teams are averaging 37 attempts against them, nearly 260 yards and 1.7 touchdowns. It's not great, but they haven't played. I mean, they just played Colt McCoy. I'm really anticipating him and Devontae Adams to just get on a roll in this game and kind of torch his secondary.
This is, I might lag real quick because I'm obviously I'm pulling another thing here. This is an interesting matchup, right? You have Josh McDaniels going against his guy, Belichick.
Yeah, want to put his foot on his throat.
You think, you absolutely think that. It is. Out of the quarterbacks that we named, this one makes me a little bit like the most hesitant, just because.
Yeah, it's a risky gamble for sure, but I'm willing to take it against this dude. The Patriots secondary has been getting exposed the last month,
which is crazy because Jack Jones was hyped up the first few weeks of the year. They said, wow, this guy came out and he's amazing.
Yeah, talk to any Patriots fan, man. They can't stop the pass no matter what.
They're fifth against
Yeah.
wide receivers right now. Past 3 weeks. They're getting exposed, averaging 187 yards per game to the wide receiver position, 1.3 reception touchdowns. So, I mean, Devontae can really eat on this one.
Yeah, I love it.
So who are we starting these QBs that we're mentioning over? And one is, I think your two here is great. I think one is an obvious, one isn't. But go to the first one because I think that's the one that may not be as obvious.
Jared Goff against
Yeah.
the Jets. We just talked about it a little bit.
Scary.
The Jets are averaging under 170 yards in that 3-week span that we keep talking about, and we just know how good this cornerback tandem is in New York. So for me, I kind of fade any quarterback going against the Jets this season. That's kind of how I've been doing it, unless it's like a stud quarterback that you can't afford to sit. I love Jared Goff. I think what he's doing there has been crazy. I thought he'd have a nice season, not as good as he has been having. He does have all the weapons there, but I just think the secondary is too good and will slow him down a lot.
There was a great tweet. I actually have it in front of me now at Smola DS, SMOLADS. Jared Goff at home is averaging 277 pass yards and 2.5 touchdowns per game. On the road, just averaging 227 pass yards and only 0.4 touchdowns. So not only are they playing a tough defense, Jared Goff going to be away, cold, outside of his dome.
I don't think he plays well in the cold. I think that's
he's a California guy.
Pretty well noted. He was in LA. I just think, like I said
USC,
earlier,
wasn't he? No, I'm not right.
It wasn't USC.
It was a California school, UCLA.
I believe you're right. Yeah, UCLA.
I'll tell you.
Like I said earlier, I really think this is going to be a super low scoring game. I don't think the offenses are going to do too much, both sides of the ball. I think it's going to be a lot of running backs and dump off passes, that kind of stuff.
He's Cal.
Good call.
Who's your next one? Next bench guy.
We've been talking about him a little bit for plays. Andy Dalton. He's more of a deeper league kind of if you have an injury at the quarterback position, like Kyler, like if you're looking for a pickup to play. I think Andy Dalton stay away from this week. Going against Atlanta, it kind of seems like a juicy matchup, but they are only allowing 167 yards in the past 3 weeks.
We need to ask Alex about these Pats DBs as well, Felix. Jets offense won't be able to stay on the field. Goff will have opportunities, and he said, I started Andy Dalton. You sure did. You started him against me with Kittle. Keep him in there. Keep Andy in there.
Don't do it this week. Atlanta's defense, when you hear that, you're like, oh, it's a juicy matchup. I don't like it. It does seem that way. Okay, yeah, I just don't like it this week.
Other people that are obviously out, injuries, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Mike White, make sure they're out of your lineup. I feel like we're missing a huge injury here. Kyler. Yeah, make sure they're out of your lineup. Let's go over to the RBs. So I can't wait for you to talk about this first one. This is one that I've been like highlighting, but I'm like, I can't do it, dude. He just scares me. He scares me, but he goes nuts. Go ahead with that first one.
Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders against Chicago. Chicago's defense has been one of the worst rush defenses since they traded Roquan Smith away to Baltimore.
Bad.
We know that this Eagles coaching staff coaches to the weakness of the other defense. We've seen it time and time again this season. The weakness of Chicago's defense right now is the rushing defense. I have no worries about playing Miles Sanders this week. I know you're kind of worried with Jalen Hurts back there because his ability to run the ball. But when they get in these games and they run the ball how they can, Miles Sanders, easy play.
Last 3 weeks, Chicago's defense, and I think they have a bye in there. So really last two games, the RBs have been averaging 138.5 rushing yards to Chicago's defense, allowing a touchdown a game. I mean, it's been bad. Giving up receptions, averaging 7 receptions, 57 0.5 receiving yards. Like Miles Sanders could really have. He's not big in the pass game, but he can really tear up this defense. I think it's a great play for fantasy. I think it's hard to. I don't know if there's many people that are benching him, but it's even to the point where like you should consider maybe he is a DFS stud. He just jumped up in price a little bit from last week, so it's made it tough. Go to your next one here.
I don't love saying this, but I said it a couple weeks ago and it worked out. Cam Akers against Green Bay. Akers has been pretty decent since he took over kind of the starter role there a few weeks ago. He's going up against one of, if not the worst rushing defense in the league right now in Green Bay. With Baker back there, the defense has to respect the pass a little bit more than they would if he wasn't there. So with him opening it up a little bit, I think Akers will find some daylight. I'm not anticipating 150 yards by any means, but I think he'll get, 60 to 80 yards and hopefully find the end zone once or twice.
Green Bay's defense has been so bad that I'm like, with everything that you're saying, it makes sense.
Hold on. Let's bring this up.
What are you bringing up?
Not respect the pass with Baker. Respect it more than if he was not there. They had John Wolford throwing the ball before. I mean, I don't love Baker, but he's a little better than John Wolford.
This one's scary. This one's like you got to be desperate to do the Cam Akers. But I like what you're saying. And Green Bay's defense has been horrendous. Let me keep adding stats to match exactly what you're saying. Green Bay's defense allowing 144 rushing yards to the RB position, 25 attempts, averaging 2 touchdowns to this RB position. Cam can eat even if Kyron gets some burn.
Yep. But I think both of them are solid plays this week in like a DFS format.
Yeah, and I think even if you're desperate, like say you got Cam on your bench and you got when's LA play? Do you have the exact time by chance? Are they a Saturday game?
I think so.
I think so too. Which
They're
makes it
Saturday.
all
What's the
much
Monday?
more tough.
Do you know what the Monday night is?
It's confusing, dude.
It's all mixed up this week.
Hold on, I got you. So Cam Akers plays Green Bay. He's the Monday night game. Game. Okay. Yeah, so that's great. You can kind of see, like, are you a Ramondre Stevenson owner? Yes, they play on 4:00. You can hold off Cam Akers and flip out Ramondre for Cam. It's a great option. Would you start Cam over Devin Singletary or Deontay Foreman?
I would go Deontay. In that. Pittsburgh's defense is not great right now against the rush either, I believe, right, Mario? What is it, like 140 yards against? Do you have that?
Mm-hmm. I am not seeing it though. Oh, Pitt. They are 22nd. They don't allow touchdowns. They are allowing 135 rushing yards, but only 0.7 touchdowns. Really, no receptions the past.
Which isn't Dante's. It's not Foreman's game, anyways, which makes me think it's going to be a heavy Foreman game. He should get 25 to 30 rushes, I think, in this game.
I hate Deontay.
I know you do, but out of those players, I still think I'm going with Foreman. I think it really comes down to Foreman and Cam for me. I'm not touching Singletary this week. I have them in my do not plays.
Devin Singletary might be great this week. Why not?
Miami's defense has been nice. They've been nice
cold.
Against the run since they got Bradley Chubb.
They're sixth.
Sixth?
Sixth most.
Let me pull this up.
Rushing yards, not too many, 71. They allow a ton of receptions, allowing 11 targets, 8.3 receptions a game.
I mean, do you anticipate that happening with Buffalo? I don't see it happening.
Sometimes it does, and it's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. I think I go Devin Singletary here, Felix.
Okay. Book it. I think I go
Devin Singletary.
I'm not touching Singletary.
I just, you know what? I told you all year, I've been waiting to buy in on Deontay, and the moment that I would buy in, it wouldn't happen. And then that happened, and I'm back out permanently. Go to you. Well, I'll go to one of mine here. Cordarrelle Patterson versus the Saints. You guys heard me mention this already. Last 3 weeks, the Saints have allowed, on average, the most receptions to the RB position, averaging 10 a game, 10 receptions a game. They allow 50 yards reception per game and 80 yards rushing a game to the position. So when he first played them, he put up 23 points. We got a rookie QB coming in. I expect Arthur Smith to kind of want to ease him into this role and game plan around running the ball and keeping it simple for him, having dump off options for him, having that safety blanket for him. I love Cordarrelle this week as long as he practiced and he is fine, which I still haven't found any info on him not practicing today, even on Twitter.
I saw it. I saw it on NFL. But like I think you're fine. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I like that call. That's a good call with the rookie coming in. Yeah, he's probably going to get a ton of dump off passes. I'm always kind of nervous about that backfield just because they can go in any direction. It could be a ton of Algier this week. It could be you just kind of never know with that backfield. So that's the only concern. But I do like that play.
I do think that's the other part to this. Like, I do think they were kind of easing Cordarrelle back in, right? Like, he got hurt, and then we haven't seen his rushing attempts, kind of DeAndre Swift like. And there isn't not really an uptick either. It's kind of just stayed the amount that it's been. They had a bye last week. That gives them a nice little break. Come back to New Orleans, who he already schooled. I would find it hard to not believe that Arthur Smith is going to put this rookie QB out there and not try to surround him with the best weapons. And maybe he believes that's Algier, but it's definitely Cordarrelle.
Yeah, it's fair. Fair play.
Hit your last running back for the week.
Brian Robinson against the Giants. They literally just played last week. He went 21 for 96.
2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks. Yeah. Well, did they have a bye last week?
Get out of here, Felix. That is no committee. They had a bye last week. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're back to playing each other. He went 21 for 96. I expect those to continue, and I think he'll find the end zone. The Giants defense is allowing over 150 rushing yards in that 3-week span. So I'm all in here.
Run through the list of the RBs that you're benching to the above guys. Obviously, Cordarrelle's my play, but you wrote up these.
Yeah, Latavius Murray for sure against Arizona. Arizona's defense, again, the pass is so bad. The pass defense is so bad. Teams just throw the ball. They don't get the opportunities in the run game. That's my reasoning behind that play. And Latavius isn't really doing too much anyways. Buffalo running backs, I kind of talked about it. I just don't like the play this week against Miami. And then Tampa Bay's running backs. Cincinnati has only allowed 70 yards in that 3-week span. They went up against Nick Chubb, shut him down completely. With Tampa's struggles on offense, I just don't like anyone on this offensive side, to be honest with you. Godwin's a nice play, but other than that, it scares me.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because you're looking at they all have both those running backs kind of have higher floors just because of how many receptions they usually get. But it's tough to see the upside.
I don't see any upside this week.
Yeah,
Cincy's defense has been pretty solid as of late.
I think a super deep play too, because I see it on the injuries, and I forgot to mention it above. Jeff Wilson is out. Damian Pierce is out. I mean, I don't think neither of them are actually confirmed out. Very likely both of them are out. Ramondre is confusing to me. I think he got a practice in today. Damian Harris has been limited all week. If neither Ramondre or Harris rolls, I am huge on Pierre Strong. I plug them in. If neither of them roll, it's just going to be one of those things that comes down to a 4:00 game that you're not going to want to risk. Let's get to some of the wide receivers that we have. So the first one I have, and it doesn't necessarily say Indianapolis as wide receivers, but I like Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell this week versus Minnesota's defense. Their secondary has been horrific. I want to say the worst.
They're giving up like 350 yards or something.
On average, they're giving up 51.9 points to the wide receiver position, 259 receiving yards. It's terrible. So I think both of these guys, obviously, look, Michael Pittman should probably be in your lineup, but I know that people are having concerns about that. So Remove those concerns. Make sure he is in your lineup this week. Paris Campbell, he might be on your bench. He hasn't been doing well. Minnesota is allowing a ton to these wide receivers. Put in Paris Campbell. I mean, I'm not saying to start him over Jamar Chase. I'm saying if you got some questions, if you got some flex concerns, Paris Campbell
Would you start
becomes
him
a
over
nice
Mike
fit.
Evans?
Oh, not Paris Campbell. No. Mike Evans has been so bad. The moment you take him out of your lineup, you're going to be so mad at yourself.
35 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like he could put up 50 yards, 7 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and you'd be mad because that's 24 points.
Yeah.
That is on your bench. And that's not even that. I mean, that's a very Mike Evans sort of game. If they ever figure anything out, they're going to have to figure things out if they want to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Christian Kirk versus Dallas. We talked about this game, Rob. This is very, very similar to like that whole take on T-Law. Kirk will be involved this week. Dallas has given up 3 touchdowns in the past 3 weeks to the slot wide receiver position. Richie James, 5 for 41 and a touchdown. Ashton Doolin, 2 for 14 and a touchdown. I don't even include Campbell, who obviously runs. He didn't have a touchdown, but I don't even include his stats there. Amari Rodgers, 457 and a touchdown. Amari Rodgers, Rob. He got cut. He's been catching pass. He gets on Houston with Davis Mills and puts up 4 for 57 and a touchdown against Dallas. Like, look at those names. So Christian Kirk, this is a stat from our buddy Wyatt. Go follow him at WyattB_FF. Christian Kirk, second in TDs inside the 10 with 6 TDs on the year.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
That's wild.
Pretty wild.
I think Christian Kirk, you'll see him on my DFS play, is a great one.
I like that. He might sneak onto mine by the end of the week.
I think he should at least. I have 2 main ones right now. At least get him in one of those. The obvious one that we also talked about, the Chargers wide receivers, and this goes even as far as Joshua Palmer. Like, I also can't see my screen, so if somebody is, I would not start Paris over Diggs.
Yeah, you can't.
I know it's going to snow real good in Buffalo. I know it is, but that just seems too cute to do in playoffs.
Yep.
Dang, I didn't see all these comments. Of course, you have Chris Moore. Chris Moore, you should be concerned about, though. If Brandon Cooks plays, I think he's the one that's likely to play. And Nico, they're both out. They're both out. Oh yeah, Chris Moore's a play again.
Yep, they're both out.
Nuh-uh, they're both out.
Yep.
Official.
Yep.
Chris Moore becomes an interesting DFS play that we're going to talk about then. Felix said everyone is stopping Chubb lately. That is true and sad all at the same time. So anyways, can you stop me if something pops up? Because I have this in the background right now. I'm looking at my notes.
Okay.
Chargers wide receivers versus Tennessee. Robbie, you already talked about that. That's an obvious play. And then for this is another one that was similar to what you said. T-Mac versus the Giants.
Yeah, I love it.
The Giants have been getting torched to the wide receiver 1 over the last 3 weeks. Now, it's not necessarily fair to say that when you go against these 3 guys, but CD Lamb, 6 for 106. T-Mac, 8 for 105 and a touchdown. AJ Brown, 4 for 70 and a touchdown. Like, these guys are eating against the Giants secondary right now. And T-Mac just did 8 for 105 and a touchdown. Literally his last game 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's hard not to plug him in.
You're right.
The guys that I'm worried about this week, Jalen Waddle versus Buffalo. This is actually, who would have thought that we'd be saying this? This is a very scary play. I don't think this is getting too cute. Like, it's hard to play him right now.
He's hurt. Yeah, he's legit hurt. They keep plugging him out there, so there must not be like a concern for re-injury or making it worse, but he doesn't look the same. The offense doesn't look the same as a whole. I have him in my one league that I'm going for the championship in this one league. It's probably my best team. Man, he's been killing me.
Yeah.
It's a tough consideration sitting him because he got me here.
Right. Let me make it a little bit easier. Felix already mentioned it. They're supposed to get about 9 inches in Buffalo.
Yeah.
There was rumors or actual facts. I haven't confirmed either that Miami needed warmers on the sideline and SoFi.
Maybe they'll move it to Detroit again.
That is the only hope for playing Jalen Waddle. I think Tua's struggling. I think Tua's going to struggle against this Buffalo defense. I think Waddle is almost a must sit, Rob.
Yeah, I know.
I won't say that he is the most must sit out of the list that I have below. Let's just say it that way. Because the next guy is going to be a very difficult decision, but I think mostly people are going to still plug him in. Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Jets. This is going to be tough. Like, you don't want to sit him. He can easily do kind of a similar stat line to Mike Evans, 6 for 40 and maybe a touchdown, which then you're like, yeah, that's nice. That's 16 points. That can happen. It really can. But I just don't trust him against this strong Jets secondary, man.
Yeah, the only good thing is he can be in the slot a lot. I don't think these two cornerbacks really travel into the slot too much, which is good for him. But I still, like I said earlier, I just don't think it's going to be a crazy high-scoring game, a big offensive output for either team. So I think it's a tough play, but I'm still okay with Amon-Ra. I
mean, that you bring some it definitely makes me feel a little bit better when you say he travels to the slot quite a bit. The last guy I have here is D-Hop versus Denver. D-Hop versus Surtain, going to be a good matchup. And honestly, I don't think I would even consider this if Kyler is there, but knowing myself, maybe. But I'm going to give this to Surtain because he's going to be catching passes from Colt McCoy.
Yeah, it's tough.
It makes it a tough start this week. D-Hop again is kind of tough to bench. It's going to be really hard to sit.
He's a tough one to sit, man. He's a tough one to sit.
Just be concerned and lower expectations. Maybe play in a higher upside play because if you're playing the last two, which I don't blame you if you play these last two. But Jalen Waddle, I will blame you if you play. He is a must sit for me.
Yeah, I get it.
No, man. Of course, it's going to come like Monday's going to roll around. Jalen Waddle 11 for 160 and 3 touchdowns.
That'd be my luck. I'd sit him in playoffs and that would happen.
Yeah. Go ahead with some tight end plays because obviously we don't have guys we're starting these tight ends over because there's nobody that's ever a lock. Apparently.
No one's ever a lock, really. Gerald Everett, I think, is
except for Kelsey.
Yeah, Kelsey. Gerald Everett against Tennessee this week, I think, is a pretty good play. We keep talking about this game and how much they're going to throw the ball. They just got torched by Evan Ingram. We know how susceptible this defense is all around in the secondary, so I think he's going to be a solid play. All the weapons are back, which kind of opens the field up for Everett. Should be an easy play. And then Dalton Schultz against the Jags, kind of my same idea for why I like Dak Prescott this week. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I think they're going to throw a ton, and we see the connection between Dalton Schultz and Dak. And I'm in on that connection.
I've had both of these guys.
He's close to a lock for me moving forward.
Evan Ingram,
Dalton Schultz.
He's looked really nice.
Yeah, him and Dak just clicked.
They do, and like both of them were hurt for a while, and a lot of people called Dalton Schultz a bust for a lot of the season because there was no Dak. Very early on, we had an episode that I remember mentioning to you because I'm a big Dalton Schultz guy. That him and Cooper Rush, just for whatever reason, do not mesh. I think he had like 7. It was their first game in 2021. And I think he had 7 targets, but only 2 receptions. And I remember saying that and looking at it and going, I'm nervous about this, but I love Dalton Schultz, so this can't happen. Well, Cooper Rush stayed the quarterback. Dalton Schultz got hurt with a PCL injury, and it just kind of spiraled into Dalton Schultz sucks. But now he's looking healthy. Dak is looking great. Kind of a slow start for Dak in a way. He hasn't had a huge game. They're winning. I don't know if he's had over 300 yards this year.
We could look at his weekly finishes for fantasy real quick.
I bet you it's low QB1. Has not put up over 300 passing yards on the season yet.
Dak, let's see. Yeah, I mean, his second game is QB4. And then you're right. He's right around that QB1, 2. area. So hopefully this is the game.
I think it is. You'll see on my DFS play. Do you want to do yours first, or you want me to go with mine first?
Yeah, I'll do mine first really fast, and then we can get the people out of here. Boom. So we talked about it before. Dak Prescott, you're in, I'm in. I love the play. Miles Sanders, he's kind of on my start list. I'm not really concerned about him this week. I think he's going to have a monster week against Chicago.
Oh,
Dante Foreman.
here it is. This is the reason now.
Dante Foreman. I love him against Pittsburgh. They give up a ton of yards, and I think that he'll find the end zone. They're playing for playoffs still, right? They're still in the hunt.
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
They're second in the division, I think.
Yeah, I do too. So I truly think they're going to kind of rely on him to be the workhorse against this Pittsburgh defense, who the secondary has been playing really nice lately. Mike Williams against Tennessee. We've been kind of preaching that. I think he's the big play. I think he'll have a huge game. Hopefully he's back fully healthy. We don't have to worry about it. The next one, Devontae Parker against Vegas. I think Vegas secondary sucks. Should be a high-scoring game. If Parker sits, I would plug in Nelson Aguilar instead, or pivot to somebody else right around there. You guys can always DM us if you're playing this and he ends up sitting. We can kind of get a substitute in there for you. Christian Kirk, I love Mario's call on this. I think that.
Did you switch this mid-show?
No, I did not.
So you did have him.
I did have him in there. I love the play. I think that he's had kind of a rough couple go the past few weeks, but I think he's going to find it again against Dallas's secondary. Mario, you kind of spoke on it, how well he runs out of the slot. They're going to be down in the red zone, and he should find the end zone, I think. Dalton Schultz, same thing against Jacksonville. I anticipate this game being the high-scoring game of the week, as you can tell from my lineup. We just talked about Schultz, so I don't really need to get into him. And then Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard, they're going to throw the ball a lot. I think he'll be on the field a ton for pass attempts. We see what he can do when he's given the opportunity. I'm all in on Pollard this week. And then
You're all in on Pollard every week.
Yeah, because he's elite.
Elite?
How many times has he let me down? I think once.
At first,
in the past like 2 months. And then I'm going with Denver defense against Arizona. Colt McCoy going in there. You talked about it. They should shut down these receivers, and I don't think Arizona's rush defense is really rush offense is that good. So that's my reasoning. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game from Arizona this week.
I considered that one for quite some time. And then I also considered Colt McCoy usually, I think last week he did, usually doesn't turn over the ball too much. Not since he's been a Cardinal. So I got nervous about that one. I'm going to share mine. I have 2 lineups on here because I really didn't know which one I liked more, but I'll go through them real fast. Justin Herbert. Look, we talked about it all episode. We're going to keep driving it home.
Why don't I have one?
Yeah.
Herbert.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
Like in case they're one of the, I think he's going to be a very chalky play. I think he's going to be very common, but let me mix him up with Keenan Allen, his guy, 6,800, and Mike Williams for 6,300. Give me the stack. Is that the triple stack? Is that what the kids call it? And then we're also going to run it back with Chig Okonkwo. Let's make sure Tennessee has an option to stay in this game. We need them to keep throwing the ball. We're going to throw it to the tight end because Treylon Burks is out. 2 running backs that you haven't heard much about. Alvin Kamara, you're due, buddy. You're due.
Yeah.
I actually am big on Alvin Kamara this week. Atlanta's rushing defense has not been great. I think he gets involved in the game, and I think I want to say they average quite a bit of receptions, but I don't have it in front of me. Joe Mixon's another one. This one's a little bit tougher because I when I initially made this, I didn't think T or Boyd were going to be in. And honestly, I'm still pretty happy if one of them sits, but if both of them plays, I might pivot. But the thought there was Burrow goes to Mixon when he doesn't have his wide receivers outside. Like he would go to Chase as well. Mixon would be his second wide receiver in a sense. Same reason as Rob has Devontae Parker. I put Nelson Aguilar. I don't think Devontae Parker plays personally, so I already have it ahead of what you were doing.
I like it. Yep.
Cordero Patterson, my favorite play of the week, probably 5,900. This is I guess I didn't have him in my lineups until I realized I'm dying on a hill with everyone I spoke to. So maybe it offers a lot of variance to my lineup. Chargers defense is the play for both of these DFS lineups. They go against Tennessee, kind of contradictory with Chig, but I think that they'll pressure Tannehill quite a bit. And hopefully they've been better against the run and their defense has been turning around a little bit. Let me go to my next one. Dak Prescott. You talked about him. I'm doing it too, dude, but I'm also stacking him with CD Lamb and Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
Give me the triple stack on this one. We're going to bring that back with Christian Kirk, 6,600. Obviously have Kamara and Cordero in these lineups as well. But in this one, I have, again, one of my no Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins play would be Trenton Irwin. But that one might be switching as well. Whew. That's my DFS plays.
I like them both.
I'm tired. I'm winded.
Not bad, Mario. Not bad.
We need to we'll see how they go. Anytime I mention them on the show, it's better when I don't mention them at all, apparently. So these probably will let me down somehow. Not win me $1 million.
Play a third lineup.
Just want to be another dude.
One day.
I ask so much. No. If you're not already following us on Twitter at DadBodFS, we'll post videos to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We'll also post a recording of today's episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Robbie?
All the major streaming platforms.
For myself, for Robbie Bobby. Peace.